and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Wednesday, 28 May. I'm your host, Daniel, and today we're going to be talking about shots have been fired in Gaza as an aid group struggles to distribute food. Trump has said Putin is playing with fire, and Sweden has charged a jihadi over the Jordanian pilot that was burned to death in the Islamic State. So firstly, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which claimed to have begun delivering large-scale aid to Palestinians in Gaza, has come under scrutiny after announcing it had launched operations last week. On Tuesday, the group said it distributed around 8,000 food boxes, the equivalent to 462,000 meals. The aid comes after an almost 3-month freeze on Israeli supplies to the Gaza Strip. GHF added that the volume of people at the distribution centre was such that the GHF team fell back to allow a small number of Gazans to take aid safely and dissipate. The AFP and Reuters news agency reported that tens of thousands of people had rushed to the food distribution centre in Rafah. The Israeli news portal Ynet reported that shots were fired from Israeli helicopters, and the Associated Press said that an Israeli tank and gunfire could be heard as large crowds of Palestinians tried to reach an aid centre. There are initially no reports of injuries in the incident in the city of Rafah. The Israeli military said that soldiers fired warning shots at an area outside of the aid distribution area, but did not carry out aerial fire towards the centre itself. So what? It's good to see that aid is getting back into Gaza. Like, just at a basic human level, that's pretty fucking rough. Regardless of what you think about the whole situation, not feeding people basic meals is pretty tough to justify, I think. However, it's definitely possible that this will lead to Hamas fighters getting more food down in their tunnels, as the food will possibly be smuggled away from the Palestinian people and down into the tunnels, which is what Israel has feared and said all along. So, this is the other side of the coin, and it's Hamas's plan, right? So you've got to keep that in mind. And next, US President Donald Trump has ramped up his rhetoric directed at Russian President Vladimir Putin in his latest comments on his Truth social media platform, as peace efforts show no sign of progress. What Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean really bad. He's playing with fire, Trump said, without being specific about what the really bad things he prevented are. Trump has, at times, expressed growing frustration with Putin as deadly strikes on Ukraine continue, with the latest being the largest drone and missile strike since Russia's full-scale invasion began in February 2022. The US administration has also said all options are on the table following Russia's latest airstrikes on Ukraine. So what? I mean, it's just all talk still, right? Putin is getting what he wants. He's still delaying the conflict. He's delaying any form of peace negotiations, and Trump really hasn't done anything. I don't know where Trump's line in the sand is. From Trump's point of view, he wants to get peace as fast as possible. So if he takes any aggressive action against Russia, that's basically the end of his peace negotiations, and it's him saying that, kind of signaling that he knows he can't get peace quickly, which, is what he claimed all along. I mean, any analyst on earth can see right now that that's almost certain to not happen at this point. But, I mean, he doesn't want to admit that and lose any face. What is interesting is that the US is now allowing Ukraine to fire missiles as far as they want into Russia. That's definitely a step in the right direction, as it likely pushes Russia's, forming up areas, their air bases and stuff further back into Russia, which gives Ukrainians more time as, missiles and planes move forward to the front and they're detected by radar. It makes the interception much more simple. But yeah, that's the first step. I've said heaps of times what I think the best thing to do would be, and that would be secondary sanctions on Russian oil industry. But we're yet to see that. And lastly, prosecutors in Sweden on Tuesday said they had convicted a Swedish man for his suspected role in the 2014 capture and execution of Jordanian pilot by the Islamic State militant group in Syria. The suspect is accused of helping to force the pilot into a metal cage ahead of one of the jihadist group's most infamous murders. The 32-year-old Swedish citizen, known as Osama K., originally from the city of Malmo, is suspected of helping in the execution of a captured Jordanian pilot. Prosecutors said that the suspect is to be charged with aggravated war crimes and terrorist crimes committed in Syria. They have been unable to work out the exact day of the murder, but the probe has identified the location where it took place. So what? Depending on your age, you'll likely remember this video as it's a very horrific execution video, possibly one of the worst I ever saw. Something about a human burning to death is uniquely horrific. But it is good to see that this guy is still facing justice so long after the case. And it shows that, if a person does commit a crime as horrific as this, that they will continue to be tracked down. And it shows that people can't just get away with crimes overseas and go back to living their life. It's a good precedent to set and a good thing to show that it's possible, regardless of how hard it is to get evidence out of places like Syria. Thank you for listening to today's Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you tomorrow. See you.